How we getting along this evening? So we're on day 6 of the Lot-o-tumbler. Got the batch rocks in there. So I figure we're going to be jumping from the 120, 220 silicon carbide to the 500, but we'll see when we get her opened up. Down got her, we'll get her filled up with water. It's real important when going from one step to the next to be extra diligent with your cleanliness. Sometimes I'm a little lax when I'm using the same grit, but when I do go changing from one to the other, I'm going to be careful. Let's see what all we got. So this one's kind of a mixed bag. It's got a little bit of everything in there. It's got some quartz and some petrified wood and some agate. I even had some glass in there. I pulled that out a little after the first run. It was wearing down pretty quick, but we'll chuck that back in there and see how she turns out. Getting the bowl washed out. You can see some of the ceramic media in there that just kind of helps things along, feeds in the gaps. She's been running for 3 days. I checked it every day. Never did have to add any water. You don't ever want your rocks to dry out. That's the reason you don't use hot water. If they dry out, all that paste that you generated, basically you're making cement. That'll solidify in the cracks and the crevices in your rocks, and you'll play heck getting that out of there. Alright. Getting the old bowl washed out. Sure, it'd be a lot nicer when summertime comes where I can do this outside. Give them all a good washing. Alright, let's see how they're coming along here. So these are a lot of the ones that kind of turned out. That rock looked like a potato before I cut it. Had a brown outer skin. Wasn't even expecting that when I cut into it. It's kind of pretty. Got some crystalline structure to her. Got some petrified wood there. I know the lighting ain't very good, but take my word for it, it's looking pretty good. This was one I wasn't sure. Cut into it. She was just pretty much a big dark hunk from the outside, but inside that's looking pretty nice. Got a nice piece of quartz there. That's going to look good. There's another one. Might be able to make something out of that. I think I may polish that down and maybe squirt it a little bit on the flat lap and turn that over to the daughter. Let her make something out of it. Now that one there is pretty neat. It's kind of different. You wouldn't expect to find these here in Andrew County, Missouri. But you'd be surprised what you find in your own backyard. Alright, that's what we got there. There's a piece of agate. Now one side of that had been cut. I had cut some off of, well, can't tell which side I cut off of now and use that for a different one, but that's going to be kind of different the way they all come in from different directions, all the different layers. That'll be looking good. So that one's looking pretty nice. Tell you what, I'm going to pause this for a second while I wash out the rest of this, and just always remember, never wash this stuff down your sink or you'll regret it calling the plumber to have it cleaned out. So I'll get back with you in a few. Alright, we had to dump our little pan out. It got full on me, so I took that out and dumped it outside. Got everything pretty well hosed down. I do believe they are ready to move on. Sometimes end up doing 3 treatments of that 120, 220, but I think this one's going to be ready to move on. So the 120, 220, that first cut, I do add some water to that when I'm doing it. I add about half of the cap full or 3/4 of the cap full. But once I move on to the 500 aluminum oxide stage, I just use the water that's pre-existing there on the rocks. Just don't let them dry out. I do go ahead and continue on with the ceramic media through this stage. I kind of help speed it up a little bit. fills in the gaps, keeps her rotating the way she should, and you can see the media down there. This stuff's pretty good. You can use it over and over again. These have probably been used on, oh shoot, I think 4 batches now. Starting to show a little bit of wear, but they got a lot of life left in them. Well, it's pretty boring sitting here watching me put this in there, so I'm going to pause her for a minute, and I'll get back with you when I go to adding the media. Alright, we got her all back in the bowl there, and got her shook down. She's about 3/4 full. That's about where I want to keep it. And sometimes I add some rocks back from a prior polish, that weren't quite where I wanted them. I pulled them out, and let's do them again, so that keeps her full. Run her too low, it doesn't agitate the way it should. They don't rotate around. And fill her too much, they don't move either. But there's that piece of glass. I'm going to add that back. So we're ready for the aluminum oxide 500. Yep, better dry the old spoon off there. Had a little moisture on her. I'm going to be adding that. It's best that you add this while it's not agitating. That way it don't get slung all over the place and get in your motor. And I think that's part of the reason people have motor failures on these Lot-o-tumblers is maybe adding this while it's running, gets down in the motor. But my old motor's been running for 40 years now. And like I said, I give her a little shot of oil every deal, every batch. So there we go. It calls for a 1/2 teaspoon there. I think I go a little heavy, but they still turn out pretty. All right, we're going to put her back on, and I'll get back with you in 3 days. Y'all have a good evening. Bye.